Now, in this video, we're going to talk about how to troubleshoot the issue of getting our application to correctly basically run and point to the correct version of Tekla Structures. Now, to do this, we're going to go actually to the Tekla discussion forums, and underneath Tekla Structure developer forums, there's the API general discussions. Underneath here, there is this Gackless Tekla Structures 2024 Developer Impact. This is the best article to help cover what I'm going to show you in more depth. But this is the thing that is making it a little bit troublesome for us here when we first get started. We didn't have to do this in older versions, but because Tekla is no longer dependent on registering the Tekla API libraries within the global assembly cache or the GAC, basically we have to kind of tell our application which version of Tekla that we're actually specifically targeting when we're trying to debug our executable. So let's actually go inside of here, and I just wanted you to see that this gives a full description. This is quite technical for the new developer though, especially if you don't kind of understand what's going on. So I'm going to try to go through some of the basic steps of this to get this done, but I just wanted you to see that this article is where I'm getting the instructions and the information for doing this from. Now back here in Tekla Structures, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to the Tools menu, and then I'm going to go to the Nuget Package Manager and manage the Nuget packages for this solution. Now we're going to go to the Browse option here, and in the search I'm going to type in TSApp, and let's just see if that actually gets me what I need. That's exactly what I was looking for. So there's that TSAppConfigPatcherTask, and I'm going to select on this, and I'm going to check this project, and I'm going to press the install. Now I'm going to go ahead and try to build the solution. Okay, it says build succeeded. Now I'm going to try, without doing anything else, I'm going to go ahead and just try to run this and see if it works. So I'll go ahead and press start, and then there's my application. I'm going to go back over to Tekla Structures. I'm actually going to delete this beam out, and I'll go back down here in my taskbar. There's my application, and I'm going to press the create beam button. Again, I'm still getting this basically this fail. Here it's basically still failing on trying to connect to the Tekla API. So I'm going to go ahead and stop debugging, and I'm going to show you what that is supposed to essentially be doing. And there's another step that I think I need to do here, but I'm just trying to show you what it might be like for you. So what is really supposed to be happening is that thing that we just installed here, that TSAppConfigPatcherTask, what that's supposed to be doing is it's supposed to be helping automatically create the config file. So I'm going to right click on this and say open in File Explorer. That'll open up my project here, my Visual Studio project. And what's actually happening is that if I go to the bin folder and then go to debug folder, there's this beamcreator.exe.config file. And this config file actually contains the references pointing to which version of the Tekla API that I'm trying to target with this executable that has the same name. So these two files must live with each other. Now, if I double click on this and open it up with Visual Studio, we're going to see here that it doesn't have all of the additional data that I need in it to actually point to the specific Tekla Structures version and API DLLs or libraries that I'm looking for. So we want that app dispatcher to automatically do that. Okay, so in the instructions on the discussion forum, it actually says to create another file called the Directory.Build.Props file. So I'm going to right click on this and I'm going to say open in File Explorer. So again, when I keep on right clicking, I'm in the Solution Explorer, and this is the Beam Creator project, basically the application we're building. So when I right click on that, I can say, open in File Explorer, and it gives me basically that folder structure here. Now directly in this top level where the solution in the project is, I'm going to right click and I'm going to say new text file here, or just text document, and I'm going to call that exactly what I was just saying. I'm going to say Directory.Build.Props, and we don't want that txt at the end, so I'll get rid of that. So Directory.Build.Props. All right, and I'm just going to go ahead and say yes to that, and then we can open this up with Visual Studio or Notepad. I'm just going to double click on it, and hopefully Visual Studio will prompt me here. I'm just going to say the new version or current version of Visual Studio, and it opens up here. So Right now, this is a blank file, and so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy the example contents here from the discussion forum post. So there's a couple different ways of doing it, and so basically you can just kind of copy this here and put in the specific version, or you can actually point to the actual installed path of where Tekla Structures is at. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and copy this here, and I'll just say copy, and let's see if this way works. So I'll just go inside of here and then paste, and instead of like kind of making a version property here for the config, I'm just going to actually say 2025.0, and hopefully that should work without actually having to specifically set the full path. So I'm just going to save this, and then I'm going to close the file, and I'm going to make sure that this gets added to my actual project. So we'll right click here on the project in the Solution Explorer, and we'll go to the Add option here, and we'll go to Existing Item. Now, I'm going to need to change my file types to all files, so that way I can see that Directory.Build.Props file, and I'll just select that and press Add, and now that's actually formally added into the project here. So there we go, we can see that. Now, again, I'm going to close that there, so I'm going to just go up to the Build, and I'm going to say Clean Solution. Then I'm going to do Build, and I'm going to say Rebuild Solution, and I'm hoping that that config file will now properly be automatically created and filled in. So to check that, I'm going to go back into my project that I have here, and we'll go into the bin, debug, and we're going to take a look at that config file. I'm going to double click on the config file, and sure enough, there's a lot more stuff in here. There's all the Tekla API references, and it is going to the specific version of Tekla Structures. So these are kind of like redirects. Now, I'm going to go ahead and close this down, and I'm going to close Nuget here, and let's try this one more time. Let's run the actual application. We have our form appear. We have the Create Beam button. I'm going to press that, and I did not see any errors, so let's actually go take a look at in Tekla Structures, and voila, we have a beam there. Now it looks like I've got to modify the class, but here you can see there's the beam dash, there's the start number 100, it's a 12 by 14, it's called beam here, A992 for the material grade, and then again we can change the class and specify some other properties, which we'll do in the next video. But now we have resolved the issue here of being able to debug directly from within Visual Studio. So really, just to recap, we went to Nuget and we got that TSAppConfig dispatcher, and then we needed to build that directory. Let me actually stop this, so I'll just stop debugging here for a moment. And we needed to build that Directory.Build.Props file, and we just needed to direct our application to look at the 2025 Tekla Structures DLLs that are and libraries for the API that are installed on our computer. And so now we're able to directly here in Visual Studio actually run this, because our config file knows to automatically direct to the proper version of Tekla. So this right here, rewind it, read that article that I was talking about in the discussion forum. This gets a bit technical for new developers that are just getting started, but I know that a lot of developers are getting stuck right here. And so if you can kind of get past this point and follow along enough with this Directory.Build.Props, that's going to allow you to debug and try things out and see where things go wrong with your code without actually having to build an installer and put it in Tekla and open Tekla every single time. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to enhancing this a bit more in the next video.